Greetings everyone and welcome to another exciting episode of the Chainsaw Hermit. And here we are at the Dharma Wheel Hermitage. What I have in mind for today's episode is we're going to do two things that I've wanted to do for a while because we got a spell of really nice daytime weather. So we're going to do an episode where I'm going to give you a sort of a final tour of the final configuration of the base camp, because we're about halfway through the winter. So definitely it is what it is and it's working well. So we're going to give you a walk around. And then also I wanted to do a land unboxing. We're going to sort of unbox for you how I purchased this land. You know, basically as a homeless guy living out of a wagon with two dogs living on the streets. And how was I able to do this? And we're going to talk about the man who helped us do this. And his name is Matt. We're going to introduce him and his company and do an unboxing from Matt today from landunlimited.com. So, yeah. So let's turn the camera around real quick. So here we are, we're in sort of down at the front of the property, and this is such as it is, the street. This is Raccoon Lane. All the streets in the MRE, this is called the MRE, stands for Modoc Recreational Estates. And this is the division that we live in. And this is, believe it or not, our street. And it's completely impassable now unless you have four-wheel drive. And if you do have four-wheel drive, you're going to wreck my road. People have already done that. You can see where it's pretty grooved up. There's our new puppy from the Hermitage, Bruno. He is our Christmas miracle, our Christmas rescue. And here he is at the Hermitage. Bruno, you got to come back over here. Okay. We retrieved Bruno from out of the street. He's still learning the ropes. He's only 10 weeks old. He's going to be a gentle giant, though. He's already almost 35 pounds at like not even 11 weeks yet. So he's going to be a bruiser, over 150 pounds when he's fully grown. So we're here at the front of the property here in, like I said, as it is the street. And I think what we'll do is we'll begin by just recapping what we did when we first got here, because that's sort of part of the unboxing. We wanted to do videos when we did arrive, but things were really hectic. So when we arrived, we landed right here in this pathway that has evolved now up to the main camp. It goes up the hillside there to the main camp. And so we arrived, that path became quite organically like the instant place that we ingressed onto the property. We pulled up in an RV pulling a trailer, pulling a car, which was my trailer. It contained the entire kit for the Hermitage in my sister's car. And the RV and the car parked there across the street, again, quote unquote. And I unloaded everything that was the original homestead kit for this project, and I put them there underneath that tree. It was the easiest, quickest place. We actually slept there the first night on a mattress out in the open air, and it was gorgeous. It was amazing, and that was October 5th. And when we arrived, we first let Xander and the boy and Xavier out of the RV. And Xander immediately came over here to this gorgeous, perfect juniper and took a whiz and ordained the property for us, sort of christened the property. Both of you guys got to get back over here. So these guys are definitely very much ready for spring. And keeping them on the property, it might be a challenge come spring. Fencing is actually a high priority for the property. Anyway, to continue, we egressed from the car. The first thing we did is sort of split up. My friend who traveled out from Maine in the RV, he's an old school mate and chum from back when we were kids, came out with my sister. And the first thing is he went ahead and walked the property and found the pins. When you purchase property, the pins are the key. It's the first thing you want to do when you get here. And I'll show you one. It's a steel pin. It's been hammered quite far into the ground, and it's quite immovable. There's a second pin, usually as a verification pin. There'll be a shorter second pin, oftentimes, if it's been done right, and the white on the top is appropriate for a property pin, and that shows me one corner of the Dharma Wheel Hermitage. And so the first thing we did is locate the pins, and there were actually we have 5 of them, and we'll show you the 5th one. The 4 for the corners of the rectangle, the 2-acre rectangle, and then down here we have a middle one, and we'll show you it by walking down the frontage a little bit. Let's go around the tree this way. Try to keep the boys on the property. And so this is our frontage along Raccoon Lane, and then our middle pin is here, our 5th pin. Most properties wouldn't have a 5th pin. Ours is not shaped perfect. Our roadway, our frontage along the road is at an angle. And this pin here marks the place where that angle breaks. And because there was a pin here, and it's maybe kind of buried, it's in there, it's in those rocks actually. And what we did with it is we decided to put our signage there on top of the pin to sort of mark that instead of a stake. And that's our little Vistaprint lawn sign we bought just so we could christen the property with some sort of appropriate signage. And then that's it. And then so when we first got here, my friend jumped out and identified the pins. What I did, because I was very familiar with the pictures that Matt had sent me of the property, especially the frontage, is I started in my mind and also on my phone comparing pictures that he had sent us, because we bought this site unseen. So and comparing pictures with what I had on my phone and in my memory of the frontage, and within 15 minutes we confirmed, and of course we had longitude and latitude, we had GPS, so we knew we were almost certainly in front of the property. So we had those 3 things, and once we completely identified the property, we unloaded everything right there, and that was kind of the end of day number 1. We had an incredible moonrise that night. There's pictures of it online and whatnot. And then the second day we spent mostly moving all of that stuff, because it was a huge pile of stuff. It was the entire base camp that you're going to see when we go up top. And we had to move it up top where we found the spot that we wanted to put it. And so that was quite a chore. I did it mostly myself and had to move it up there. On the 3rd day, what we did was we staked the property. And that's a chore in and of itself, but it's one that it's absolutely necessary. And so we'll go back here to the corner real quick, and I'll just show you. You guys got to get out back over here. All right, once again, retrieve the puppies onto the property. So this is a very sort of classic sort of property stake. You can see this is literally the first one we pounded in, because obviously this pin was very easy to locate and know that it was our corner. These bands, these color bands, have meaning. Orange is simply a property line. Red, if this were red, it would designate property line, no trespassing. And then the middle one is a relatively new color addition to the color scheme of staking, and it's purple, and it means no hunting. And so that's our official stake all the way around. And then so day number 3 was spent, and that would have been October 8th. It was spent staking the property. Now this one we didn't have to stake except the corners, because we have a fence that's pretty accurate from our neighbor that's next to us. And then so we staked our 4 corners, and we didn't have to stake the middle here because we have the sign. And then we staked in the middle on the back and in the middle on the side, so we had more of a good idea of the rectangle. And the staking just basically goes, you use the color and some binoculars and line of sight. It's not really like surveying accurate, but it's accurate within even like a foot. I'm pretty anal about it, and I got it pretty good. And you just set a pair of binoculars on one stake like that, and then you can sight down the property line. and you use the colors to be able to see. And you can also, if it gets tricky, like if you're in a bush or something like that, if your stake that you're trying to see, you can add flags. So a couple of times I had to take a tent pole and put it up next to a stake, and then put a red bandana like up on top to sort of sight the stake. And so yeah, and that was the third day that we were here, and by then we were beginning to unbox the base camp, and we'll go up there now and take a look. And so we, as we walk up the trail, and you can see it much more defined now, and like I said, that kind of just developed organically, but we're going to gravel it in, we're going to frame it in with stones, and then gravel it so that people can walk a lot more easier up here to the base camp. Our two main structures is this one here, which is our main cabin. That's where me and the boys rest and eat, and there's a little office in there where I do the business of running the Hermitage. And that one there is our storage shed, and there's also a work table in there, so I can store all the gear and keep it dry and nice, and also, you know, do different chores on the table. There's our main prayer flag tree up there on the hill. It's a 40-foot diameter tree. When it's done, it'll have, you know, 40 feet circle, be the largest, probably the largest structure on the Hermitage property, at least right now, certainly. And our very proud flying the Karmapa flag here. That we put that up. I think on day number 4 we put some of this stuff up. And then we began on day number 4, we began assembling all of this. The last thing was the picnic table. We had it delivered from Ace, and I put it together myself. And later in the spring, when it warms up a little bit and we can cure the table up a bit, I have a can of maroon paint. We're going to paint it maroon. But for right now, in the winter. And you can see we still have plenty of snow from the snowstorm that we took up here. It's really taken quite a while to melt, because we've had sunny days like this now for at least a week here at the Hermitage. And so yeah, it's taking its time. The base camp is very well endowed. We have everything. We have renewable energy for electricity. We have both solar, and we're going to take a look at that as we walk out back. And we have the wind turbine, which you can see sitting there proudly over the back of the cabin. There's our main shelter cabin, and it's, you know, it's done quite nicely. I'm not going to say it's pleasant to be in a tent during a blizzard, but it's doable, and we did it. We survived. Again, here's the storage shed further up on the hill. We'll take a walk out back here, and you can see we've got about 350 watts of solar panels out here on the hillside, doing their job to harvest the sunshine every minute, basically, of any sunny day. I put these panels out, and I track the sun so I can get the best possible output from the panels, and we collect up as much electricity as we can, and that way we can do things like keep the internet on. We have the Starlink unit out back here. Very, very good and reliable internet. We're very, very happy with it. We get incredible bandwidth. We live stream from up here and can provide all sorts of content and connectivity. And so that's that unit. And there's the panels. Here's another look up the hill at the again, the main prayer flag tree. And then the view from the tree. We're going to put a meditation platform up there, because the view from the tree is that. So it's really probably arguably one of the best views of the property. And so this is the main base camp, and this is what we were able to do. This is a combination, though. We obviously didn't bring things with us like the wind turbine, and not quite all of this power, and a lot of simple things that we really did need, like garbage cans and whatnot, did not come with the main kit. Thanks to a very generous donation from Lama Choga at the Insight Sangha, though, both cash and some Ace Hardware cards, gift cards, we were able to do the sort of a final tooling and get the power we needed, get the turbine, and get simple stuff like heaters and garbage cans and stuff that really didn't make the cut to come up here in the first load. and that finished the camp off before the holidays. So we were able to be able to lean into winter with pretty much every advantage. And like I said, I'm not saying it was pleasant to sit through a blizzard in a tent, but we did it. That's the key thing, is we did it, and it wasn't completely uncomfortable. So that is the main sort of base camp, and we set that up sort of day 4 to maybe day 8. About a week or more that it took before we had framed out everything here that you see. We had a Sunday service to christen the property and put the main prayer flag tree up. And yeah, and so this is basically, it's homesteading 101. All of our systems are what you would expect from a homesteading encampment. They are as efficient. All the systems are as efficient and as sort of self-contained and renewable as they can possibly be, for obvious reasons. We're very, very isolated up here. That road I showed you is impassable. It's nearly impossible to get in and out of here right now, and it will remain so for a few weeks. This is a very, very isolated piece of property. That's the point. It's a Buddhist hermitage. So yeah, but it's working really well. We're really happy with it. And don't think, though, that we're going to be remaining in tents forever. We already have a place for the prayer hall, which is going to be, generally speaking, up there behind the prayer flag tree. We're going to put a permanent cabin structure, which will be our little prayer hall. And then down here, the main cabin tent will be replaced, and I've already decided, by an RV trailer, which are both permitted under the HOA rules for the property. So we can stay within the rules and do that. And next winter will be, I think, a lot easier to cope with, not being in a tent per se. And we'll save the tents for guests and stuff like that, because they will be staying in tents. If you come here, plan on staying in a tent and plan on not bringing a car. Or if you do, good luck. Bring four-wheel drive. All right, so let's get to the unboxing part, okay? Yeah, I want to describe for you the day I bought this property. Again, we were homeless. Me and Xavier and Alexander were living out of the garden wagon that you might have seen in one of the previous clips, which is still here with us. But we were living out of it. We had a small camping kit in the back of it, and we were completely homeless, completely penniless, living on the streets of the Bay Area of California. And decided to do this project, build the Hermitage, and therefore buy this property. Now, to begin with, I had an almost ridiculous, completely unrealistic price cap for what I knew that I could eventually afford to pay for said property. And it was $5,000. And that's, in today's market, and given today's economy and everything all included, and in addition to being so ridiculous of a low price, it had to be owner financed and relatively easy to buy, because I didn't have a lot of the accoutrements of life. I was going to buy this land sight unseen and try to get to it with a homesteading kit. So that was the plan. I was sitting in front of 7-Eleven the day I bought it. We had a little traffic island. We went to it often during the day. We would clean up the parking lot for the 7-Eleven guy, and then we would kind of just sit there and accept charity from the local public. And that was kind of how we spent most of our work-a-day kind of days. And we'd pull the wagon out there, of course, and about a mile to pull it. And it was, a chore. And Xavier kind of had his little seat in the wagon that he rode in. We're quite famous. You can see the videos of our lifestyle. But anyway, we're sitting there on this island in front of 7-Eleven. I walked into 7-Eleven, put $200, which was the down payment, advertised down payment, from, again, landunlimited.com is where we bought it. And we're going to go through their website in the next clip. I'm going to actually walk you through the website and show you Matt's website. And but I'm going to describe for you, because I'd already picked him out. I had not only shopped for the land itself, but I shopped for him and his way of doing it, and I already knew that he had appified it and made it really, really easy. So that's what I expected. My expectations of both the land and Matt's site were high before even as I was walking into 7-Eleven with that down payment. Walked it into the 7-Eleven, put it on my Cash App card. grabbed a coffee, which is usually free for me because we sweep the parking lot, right? And went back out, sat down next to the wagon and the boys under a tree, pulled out my phone, and I believe I clicked 3 or 4 times total. One of them was for an e-signature. And then I put my card information in, which with Cash App, of course, is quite easy to do. And in less than 5 minutes, I received back the sales papers for that land. I owned it. And that was it. It doesn't get any easier than that, guys. And at $5,000, my mortgage is around $65 a year. You know, one person up in British Columbia in Canada, because they're used to a lot of taxes, he exclaimed to me, Wamachoga actually, might as well just say, exclaimed to me, well, what about the taxes? They must be outrageous. Yeah, I think it's around $50 a year. So, yeah, an incredible deal for this beautiful piece of property. So, yeah, it was about 3 or 4 clicks. It took less than 5 minutes before I owned this land. I immediately notified my sister, who liked the idea so much that in the next 5 minutes, she bought a parcel. And what happened is, because of the way Matt's very nice system, he's got a good system set up, is that we got a referral for that. And then her friend out there in Maine, in New England, decided, yeah, I want to get out in the sunshine, and I want to get out of New England and retire out here to some beautiful piece of property. And so he came out, and then just over the holidays, he got to look at his first, because he was here already. But he came out with my sister, and then over the holidays, he bought a 3rd piece of land, for which we also got a referral. A referral is 1 month of mortgage paid, just 1 month gone. And that's what gets knocked off if you refer somebody. So at this point, I want to point out that he doesn't have referral codes. Matt doesn't. We don't have a referral link, so per se. But if you do decide to, his link to his website is in the description below. And if you do decide to buy a piece of land, please tell him that the Dharma Bum sent you, and he'll know, because I'm going to let him know about this video, but he'll know that means that it's our referral, and we'll get 1 month of mortgage on the Hermitage gratis, knocked off. And we know it works because we've already done it. We own 3 parcels out here between the 3 of us from New England that are doing this, and we're all friends from childhood. We all knew each other as kids and whatnot. So there's a good bond between us, and we're homesteading all 3 parcels. We're essentially doing what I just described. That process is what we did when we claimed all 3 parcels. Now, in the case of my friend, it's an interesting proposition here, because you can go to these places like the MRE. We did when we bought his. We were here already. We had 2 parcels already, and we just drove around. Literally just drove around, and we used an app called Regrid, where we could actually see which properties were Matt's, because Matt owns a bunch of them up here in the MRE, and also California Pines, which is over on the other side of the ridge. There's California Pines, another division where he owns a bunch of lots right here in this area. So we drove around. We wanted to do business with Matt, so we drove around, found one of his lots that we really liked. We pulled on with the car, and we made the clicks. And we didn't have to drive the car off because we owned the property. Like, that easy. That, like, literally, buying land does not get any easier than that. Matt has lots in states all over the United States. So don't be hung up that you have to be here in Northern California where we are. Although, if you are interested, you know, in coming out here in this particular exact area, I mean, there are some really super affordable lots. All 3 of us paid about $5,000 for our lots. No, I guess one of us paid $10,000, but it was a bit nicer. It's closer to power, which we're not close to anything. We don't even have bars up here on this particular lot. So, but they're very affordable. He's got all price ranges, but his model will always be the same, no matter what the price of any lot is, whether it's Florida, Maine, I think he even has some, I'm not even sure, but he's got them all over the country, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these lots at all different price ranges. Like I said, I simply typed in 5,000. That was my cap, man. And I came up with dozens and dozens of properties at $5,000. And believe it or not, that's what we paid for this incredibly gorgeous, quiet. I mean, sometimes we go a week before we even see a car or anything on our road or anything up here. So it is an incredibly gorgeous piece of property. And I bought it sight unseen and had high expectations, and it met my expectations and exceeded them by far. So we'll take a look in the close. We'll do another segment here. We'll take a look at Matt's website real quick. But again, it's landunlimited.com, and the link is below. And again, make sure to tell him if you do decide to get yourself a piece of this incredible action here, then you can tell them that the Dharma Bump sent you, and we'll get the referral. We'll get a month's mortgage. So let's take a look at his site. All right, everyone. So I actually am recording this segment of today's episode last, and I noticed in reviewing the video from earlier today that I completely slaughtered Matt's URL, but it is in fact landlimited.com. And in any case, as I said throughout the videos, it is linked in the description below. But this is his fantastic, incredible website. As I said, one of the things I shopped for was not just the land, but I shopped for Matt and for this site. I wanted something that worked, that impressed me. And I'm a retired IT. I'm not easy to impress when it comes to websites. This is the web version, the desktop version. As I mentioned in the other clips, it is the mobile version is equally awesome. It totally is a completely almost a different site, but with the same functionality. And so, yeah, let's just, let's tool around on it. You select a state, right? Like right here, you can look at all the states he's got. Let's pull this down a little bit so we can do the drop down. So right off the bat, I see Alaska, California, Colorado, Florida, Missouri, New Mexico, Utah. So those are the states right now that he currently has land in. And the site, is clean. It's, you can sign up for his newsletter, which if you're even vaguely interested in buying land, I 100% recommend that you sign up for his newsletter. And then also for those of us who are already his clients, we can sign in. And then it takes us to a back-end portal for us where we can do everything, including like we can re-download our papers, we can track the various stages of our equity and how it's going down, and we can pay our mortgages by signing in, and all very, very cool and seamless. I see that he's got an announcement at the top of his site, and I just want to point this out because we also have crypto links for donations. Nobody has ever donated crypto to us so far at the Hermitage, but we do have we do crypto, and we have crypto links in the description to donate to us, and he has now accepting crypto for land. So how about that? Like I said, Matt is really as forward-leaning as you can get when it comes to the technology and to the simplification of the system. He has really boned it down to exactly, only the steps necessary to do this. And it's all very, very automated. It has to be, because I had my sales papers in less than 5 minutes. So there's no way that Matt sat down like rubber stamped stuff and then sent it off to me by post or whatever. That didn't happen, right? I mean, this was all done by the computers. And so up here is your search. You can enter your current location. If you happen to be in one of Matt's divisions, you can use the Google Map locator and give permission to the site, and then the site will take you to the land that's directly around you, or you can view all of his listings. We'll go ahead and hit that, and then just see right away it brings up the map, and you see right away we have like, let's go just look at this one, because right away it's in that range I talked about of 5,000, right? and then eventually a map of the country comes up. But let's go take a look at this property here, because this will make a good example for the rest of what so this is what it would look like if you went to a single property page. Okay, so let's say we like this property, so we can see everything about it. The purchase price is $4,900. The down payment is $300. And for a 20-year note, that'll make your mortgage $56.65 a month. Now, I don't know what you pay for rent, but that's what you would be paying for rent if you were homesteading this particular property. Now, so right off the bat on the web version, now you get all of that right from the get. This is the overview of this property. So right away on the right hand side, you see every number in it. Probably like 90% of the questions you had before you clicked are literally answered on this right tab here on the side. So let's just look at it from a buyer's point of view, right? I mean, this is, what it's about, right? So looking at it, it's not a bad property. I mean, it's got trees. That's key. You got to have some trees. What is the size of this property? Let's look at that. 1.47 acres. That's not bad. 1.5. His lots tend to be about 1.5. That's a standard size. A lot of the MRE lots up here are 1.5. It looks very similar to an MRE lot. Where is he? Oh, this is in Modoc County. Is this in the MRE? It is. This is in the MRE. Oh my goodness! I just found randomly by accident that's in the MRE. Well, I don't actually recognize that part of the MRE. Wow, that's wild. So this is an MRE property. This is where I live. This is where the Hermitage is. The yearly taxes on this property are $30.60. The HOA is $42 annually. And yeah, so it's a perfect square. Where is he on? Which drive is he on? Where is the address? Somewhere around here they'll give because they're all named after animals and stuff and cool names. So let's just, maybe we can see from the pictures. We'll open this up here. His sites are so much fun. So let me see. Maybe this one will tell me. So he's on Gray Wolf Drive. So we're on Raccoon Lane, so that's you get the motif. So the MRE is pretty huge. You can see that there are, I don't know, maybe thousands of lots up here. I'm not even really sure, just in this one division. My section, this looks like a fairly busy section. Nice straight roads and everything. Nice square grid. Probably pretty easy to get to. I mean, we could even drive down there at some point. It's probably less than a mile from here is this particular property. So let's X out of there. So yeah, and this is what I did once I went on Matt. I think I was sold kind of on Matt and landlimited.com first, because I saw so many of the kind of opportunities that I wanted. Like I said, that range of $5,000 is really what I could afford as well. And then I began to dig into which property I wanted. And for me, it was a lot about one thing you want to take a careful look at is the HOA and the rules, which will be generally summarized in these icons right here. But then you can read the actual details, and you should read them carefully. But the HOA really defines what you can do with the property. And based on what we wanted to do with the idea of making a hermitage where people could camp and meditate, the Modoc recreational estates had the most favorable HOA agreement. And they also have a pretty decent HOA from what I can tell. They don't take as good a care of the roads as I wish they would, but they do have a really nice clubhouse area, several buildings, and a big a pond and a camping area, grassed off sort of park area with different little tables and grills that you can go and set up on a picnic table and grill some whatever and have an afternoon down there at the clubhouse. And so they do have an organization that does do some stuff. And then also here with the basic sort of again, with these icons are going to tell you a lot about how the property is going to fit with your needs, and then you can also tell what's nearby. And I can tell you that all of these things are super accurate. We literally are backed by the Modoc National Forest. So hiking is not a problem. We have Clear Lake, which is one of the most famous lakes in the country, certainly in the state of California, very nearby. Obvious, we are camping. I'm like recording this inside of a tent in the MRE. So and then fishing, of course, because there's tons of streams and lakes and stuff all around us, a lot of water. There's a good water table here. And then most of the properties in the MRE are off grid. However, the grid has crept into the MRE. There are occasional properties that are very close to power. We managed to obtain one that is close enough that we think we can get power eventually up in there from the grid itself. But off-grid power here in Northern California is not that big a deal. Even this picture here, the sunniness is unavoidable. The sun is very powerful here, very strong. And it's 8 months out of the year where days are just like this, what you see in these pictures. Today here in the MRE was exactly like this. The sun came up, the sun went down, and there was not a cloud in the sky. And that's 8 months out of the year. So there's electricity is actually... and we've done at least one show on this already on renewable energy up here at the homestead. So it's actually pretty easy. So this property, I'm actually going to bookmark. And so, because this is another great property right here in the Modoc Recreational Estates. And like I said, just randomly happened to appear, when I logged in to the website. So, again, I apologize that throughout this video I slaughtered the URL. It is landlimited.com, and I'll put the link in the description below. And this is where the mojo happens, guys. This is where the magic happens. And I really truly believe that no matter what your desire, needs, or region of the country that you're interested in doing this in, no matter what, Matt has something for you. And he has an incredible, as I described throughout this video, an incredible system here. It has never burped. It has never blinked. Every single thing that's described on the site works. We've tried it all, including like the referral program, all of it. We haven't tried the exchange program because every plot that we've bought we want to keep. So so far so good with that. We haven't had to exchange any, but the exchange program, I imagine, works equally as flawlessly as the rest of the site. So there it is, and go over and check them out, landlimited.com. So guys, that's the unboxing of the land, and also a tour of the sort of the final configuration of the initial homesteading base camp. This is how we are able to persist on the property, continue to hold it, and whatnot, and also a good description of how you would come to one of these properties and, as they say, stake your claim, which is exactly, I mean, this is the Wild West out here. This is Northern California, so that's exactly what you're doing. If you ever dreamed about doing this for whatever reason, maybe it's not as eccentric as mine, where I'm, homesteading a monastic level retreat center. Maybe it's more just you just want an off-grid place for your family. You're tired of it all. You want to get out, or you just want a camping spot. You know what I mean, for the weekends or whatever. If you ever wanted to do some land and you had a dream to do some land, and you didn't want all of the hassle, you wanted to just jump to the fun part, right? But you didn't want all the hassle of like negotiating with real estate agents and, credit lines of credit and all that kind of silly stuff. Well, again, a homeless guy did this with about 4 clicks and a Cash App card. So, and I'm incredibly happy. If you do talk to Matt on the phone, tell him the Dharma Bum said hi. He knows that we love him to death. Um, he's a very approachable, very amazing man. And he knows a lot about homesteading and has a lot of resources. He sends a lot of resources out in his email on homesteading and whatnot. He knows almost for sure why you want your land. And his descriptions, I have to say, are super honest because, like I said, I knew what I expected when I got here, and it met and exceeded my expectations. In every way. So the photographs were honest, the description was honest. It's fair and honest. You can buy these lots sight unseen and be very, very happy with them. If not, he has an incredible exchange program. So let's say you got up here to the MRE. You said, okay, Dharma Bum, I want to come live up by you. I'm going to buy one in the MRE. So you bought one up here. There's about, I don't know, quite a few. I'd say he's got at least a half a dozen, just wild guess, up here in the Modoc recreational estates. So you say, okay, you come up here and you say, you buy it, right? But you buy it sight unseen like we did. And you get up here, it's not quite what you expected. You know what I mean? And maybe not as many trees as you wanted or, whatever. A few more rocks than you wanted, whatever. So you drive around the MRE and you find a lot that's actually perfect. You're like, oh my God, I love this one. So you just literally go and make one call to Matt and he will instantly switch everything, including all of your equity in the other lot, anything you paid, your down payment, everything just switches across and you'll own that new lot in a matter of minutes for calling him. And you've got 1 year to do that. You've got 1 year to trade out your lot for any lot he sells anywhere in the country, not just in the MRE. So yeah, so a lot of backup there for doing this. So don't be afraid is my advice to you. And go to a person like Matt at landunlimited.com who's a pro, who does this, with finesse and technological acumen. The mobile version of the site is really, really cool. I do almost all my business on the mobile version, and it's very appified. It's very neat to pay my bills, do whatever, check my, search for other properties, do whatever I want to do on his site. It's very approachable mobile version. So give it a try. And again, if you do end up buying any land from Matt, tell him I said hi and tell him the Dharma Bum sent you so we can get the referral. That about covers it. Thank you guys so much for joining me for another episode. My co-hosts, Xander, Xavier, and Bruno, wish you the best, and we'll go ahead and turn the camera around to give you a blessing. Get the sun there. I'll block the sun for you. So thank you so much for another episode. Hit the like and subscribe button, guys. And repost this if you want, Matt. I hope you liked it. We did the best we could to do it justice for you. So there's your unboxing that I promised you a while ago. So I'm trying to get out of the sun here. There we go. Let's do this. So, guys, here's the blessing. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll do another one real soon. I think the next one we're going to do, the next episode of the Chainsaw Hermit, we're going to talk about food and cooking. And it should be an interesting episode. We're going to unbox how you can do refrigeration up here in a situation like this on a mountain with only what electricity you can generate yourself. So and then we're also going to talk about different kind of foods that work out good for this situation as well. We're going to unbox some of that as well. So tune in for the next episode of the Chainsaw Hermit. It's going to be as good as this one. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you get out there and buy some land. Find your independence, man. And this is a way that makes it super easy to do that. And you won't be alone. There's a lot of folks out here that are homesteading and doing it this way. There's endless YouTube videos about this sort of thing. I just thought Matt deserved one of his own. I hope you guys like the base camp because you guys paid for most of it. Please keep us in mind because we have the winter appeal, which is a link down below in the description. and that's for propane. You see a beautiful sunshiny day here, and it is really quite gorgeous, but only for a hot minute. And the nights are really long and brutally cold, and we're tearing through, especially propane, in vast amounts. So consider a donation. It will go to food or fuel to get us through the winter. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one.